Hi, my name is Jocelyn Neal, and this is our fourth session in our Melodic Dictation workshops to help you get ready for the AP Music Theory exam. If you have not done sessions 1, 2, and 3 yet, I recommend you jump over and do those, and then come join us for this session. Today is all about compound meter. We're going to be working in compound duple meter and really focusing on the time signature of 6/8. You'll need to be somewhere you can sing out loud, you'll need some staff paper, and you'll need a pencil. Let's warm up. We're going to be in this key and we'll solfege a scale. There's Do, 3, 4. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Let's sing our intervals. 3, 4. Major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, perfect octave. Minor second, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor sixth, minor seventh, perfect octave. Major second, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major second, major third, perfect fourth. And let's sing our scale in thirds. 3, 4. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, la, so, ti, la, do, ti, re, do. Do, la, ti, so, la, fa, so, mi, fa, re, mi, do, re, ti, do. And let's sing our descending triads. Ready? And do, so, mi, do, re, la, fa, re, mi, ti, so, mi, fa, do, la, fa, so, re, ti, so, la, mi, do, la, ti, fa, re, ti, do. And let's tonicize. Here's our first pitch. 3, 4. Do, mi, so, fa, mi, la, so, ti, do, re, do, ti, do, so, mi, do. And let's sing all of our interval combinations. Do, re, do, mi, do, fa, do, so, do, la, do, ti, do, do, do. Re, mi, re, fa, re, so, re, la, re, ti, re, do, mi, re, do. Mi, fa, mi, so, mi, la, mi, ti, mi, do, mi, re, do. Fa, so, fa, la, fa, ti, fa, do, fa, mi, re, do. So, la, so, ti, so, do, so, fa, so, mi, re, do. La, ti, la, do, la, so, la, fa, la, mi, re, do. Ti, do, ti, la, ti, so, ti, fa, ti, mi, re, do. Do, ti, do, la, do, so, do, fa, do, mi, re, do. For this session, we'll do just a few of our opening 3-note melodic patterns and our closing 3-note melodic patterns. So I will sing them on a neutral syllable. You should solfege them back, and then we'll sing them together on solfege to confirm. Here's our key. That's Do. And we'll do these in compound duple meter today, since that's our focus. Do, 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 do. Do, ti, la, ti, so, do. Do, 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 do. re, mi, do. Now let's talk for a few minutes about compound duple meter. In compound duple meter, the term duple refers to the fact that there are 2 beats per bar, and the term compound refers to the fact that each beat is divided into 3 units. For today, we'll be working with a time signature of 6/8, and that means that the beat note we will be using is a dotted quarter note. Notation matters, and when we are working in compound duple meter, we always want to be able to see the beat unit in each measure. That means that our beaming and our notation needs to match that metric structure. If you have 6/8 notes in a bar, the correct way to notate that would be with 3/8 notes beamed together. And if you were to instead beam things in groups of 2/8 notes, that would be incorrect. Similarly, I want you to pay attention to where dotted notes and 16th notes fit in relationship to the beaming. On the left, you see a correct notation, and on the right, you see an incorrect notation. And we want to pay very close attention again to being able to see the 2 beats in each measure. 1 beat, 2 beats. If you cannot see those because of the way that the notes are beamed and placed together, then you have incorrect notation. Now let's take a look at some of the most common rhythmic patterns we might find in compound duple meter. You have in front of you 16 measures. For most of these measures, I have showed you a common beat pattern, and that has been repeated twice in the bar. I showed you 2 different beat patterns in measure 15, but these are the ones we want to be able to recognize quickly and easily. We want to be able to notate them in a melodic transcription or sight read them in a sight singing exercise. So we're going to read all 16 bars here together. We will use a neutral syllable, and here we go. Ta 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 taka ta taka ta ta taka ta ta taka ta taka taka ta taka taka ta taka ta ta taka ta taka ta ta taka ta ta taka ta taka taka ta taka 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 ta taka taka ta taka ta taka ta 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 ka ta ta ka 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 ta ta ka ta ta. Not all of these patterns are equally common, especially not in the melodic dictation exercises you'll be doing. So for instance, measures 8, 9, 12, and 15 here are far less common. Measure 15 has 2 different syncopated patterns in it that you're just not likely to see in your melodic dictation exercises. So if you want to focus your attention and your studying, you can go ahead and leave out those 4 measures, measures 8, 9, 12, and 15. Now let's do a rhythmic transcription exercise. Please get some staff paper and set it up with 8 blank measures in 6/8. We're going to do 8 different 1-bar rhythmic transcriptions. I will speak each rhythm for you, and I would like you to write it down in real time or as quickly as possible after you hear it. Let's begin. Number 1. Ta 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 ta. Number 2. Ta 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 ta. Number 3. Ta 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 ta. Number 4. Ta 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 ta. Number 5. Ta 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 ta. Number 6. Ta, 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 ta. Number 7. Ta, 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 ta. And number 8. Ta, 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 ta. Now take a second to check your work. Here are the 8 rhythmic patterns we just heard. Now let's go ahead and work on our melodic dictation exercise for today. As a reminder, on that first hearing, make sure you get the first 3 notes and the last 3 notes so that you're hearing the opening pattern and the melodic cadence. If there are any other pitch patterns you recognize on that first hearing, absolutely get those down as well. Make sure you're moving your pencil across the page in real time to the music so your pencil point is always over the correct place in the staff for the note you're hearing at that moment. On your second hearing, think about hearing your anchor pitches, tonic and dominant, scale degrees 1 and 5. Listen for contour, listen for scales and scalar fragments, and listen for arpeggios. I recommend that you work in real time and use shorthand notation, either scale degree numbers or individual letters for solfege syllables, or dots to show contour and rhythm above the staff. On your third hearing, which is your final hearing for free response question number 1, make sure you're listening for pitch patterns and short groups of notes. Let's set up our staff paper. Today we'll be working in treble clef. Our key signature is 3 flats. Our time signature is 6/8, and our melody will be 4 bars long. So go ahead and set up your staff paper accordingly. Our first note will be pitch E flat 4. All you will have is a note head. Your first task when you hear that melody is to put an appropriate stem on that note to show its rhythm. Now, before we listen to our melody for the first time, let's add a little bit more information to our staff paper. Take a look at that first note, take a look at that key signature, and go ahead and label the key on your paper so you have that as a visual reference. We also know that most of these melodies end on tonic in the middle of the 4th bar, so I am going to go ahead and draw in a dotted quarter note on E flat 4 in that 4th bar. I don't know yet if that is the correct pitch, but I want to have that visual target when I am listening to the melody for the first time. If that is not the correct pitch, I can change it, but this is going to help me out. I also want to think very carefully about the fact that I am working in compound duple meter, and with that time signature of 6/8, I want to be listening for 2 beats per bar for groupings of 3/8 notes. And rhythmically, I'm listening for patterns in the metric structure of 1 ta ta 2 ta ta 1 ta ta 2 ta ta 1 ta ta 2 ta ta 1 ta ta 2 ta ta. Now let's do our first hearing. Okay, on that first hearing, I noticed that my opening melody began with a lower neighbor motion. Do, ti, do. And so I can notate that. Those notes were even note values and they were all 8th notes. In 6/8, I'm going to be beaming those 3/8 notes together. So that's my opening pattern. And then I heard the ending, mi, re, do. And so I'm going to notate that descending scale of scale degrees 3, 2, 1 it was a quarter note and an eighth note, and I heard that as my melodic cadence, confirming that the last note was indeed tonic E flat 4 as a dotted quarter note. Let's do our second hearing. On this second hearing, I noticed there was a scale ascending at the end of measure 1 into measure 2. I heard anchor pitches of scale degree 5 twice in measure 2. And I heard an arpeggio up to a high scale degree 1 in measure 3. Those descriptions are going to help me get some more information. I also heard in the end of measure 3 a descending scale, and then my 3-2-1 cadence. Let's make sure we have those anchor pitches in our ear, so we're hearing 1, 5, 1, do, so, do, do, so, do, so, do. Opening fragment, do, ti, do. Melodic cadence, mi, re, do. With that information, let's do our third and final hearing. Let's use some shorthand notation above the staff in real time to transcribe this melody. Here was tonic. I heard do, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, sol, fa. You'll notice that I'm writing down scale degrees and I'm showing where the logarithmic values are. Let's go that far and let's get measures 3 and 4. Here's tonic. Do, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi, so, do, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. With that much information in place, I can transcribe the melody on the staff. I had an ascending scale at the end of measure 1, moving through scale degrees 2, 3, and 4. I had a longer note value of a quarter note on scale degree 5. I had upper neighbor motion from 6 back to 5. And then I had a descending scalar fragment through scale degree 4. I heard a tonic arpeggiation, 3, 5, 1, mi, so, do, at the beginning of measure 3. Now, at the end of measure 3, I can use my connect the dots technique. I heard a scalar fragment coming down, and I know that that scalar fragment was going to connect on the downbeat of measure 4 to scale degree 3. Working backwards, I had the note above that, I had the note above that, and I had the note above that. That helps me identify that that scale began on scale degree 6. And that scale pattern came down in a rhythmic pattern of a dotted 8th note and a 16th note. Make sure that my fragment of a beam points in the same direction as the dot that completes that rhythmic value. And that's my complete transcription. Let's look at some of the patterns we would recognize. We would hear the lower neighbor motion of 171. We heard the ascending scale from Sev 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We heard a descending scalar fragment 6, 5, 4, 3. We heard an arpeggiation of the tonic triad, and then we heard a scale that descended 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's look at the complete melody and sing it together. You can always change octaves in the melody if that helps with your vocal range. Here's tonic. 1, ta, ta, 2, ta, ta. Do, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi, so, do, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Thanks for watching.